Now that you've been using aided language stimulation or modeling using the individual's communication system or a supplementary system that closely resembles their device, hopefully they are starting to see the benefits of using symbolic language. It's time to learn how to make sure they continue to understand that their words have meaning. Our third strategy is the 3 A's: acknowledge communication attempts, attribute meaning, and accept all forms of meaningful communication. Let's discuss further what these 3 A's really mean. Upon their first opportunity to interact with an AAC device, many children start to explore the pages, activating buttons incessantly, sometimes driving us crazy. This is totally okay though. Think of it just like when a very young child starts to discover his or her voice, they babble. This is our AAC user's form of babbling. Even if it's driving you nuts or disrupting a group, remember that we cannot just take the device away in these moments. We need to teach them to use their quiet voice, just as we would do with a speaking child. If your child seems to be pushing buttons for no apparent reason, or maybe you think they're stimming on the visual and auditory feedback, let's view this as an opportunity to acknowledge their attempt and attribute meaning. For example, if the AAC user randomly says, cookie, cracker, hamburger, drink, you may offer them these items if available, or respond with a, sorry, we don't have any snacks right now, but we can get some soon. Another example would be if your AAC user is engaged in some form of free play or downtime and out of the blue starts saying something like, dinosaur, elephant, squirrel. This could be an opportunity to say, oh, maybe you'd like to read a book or watch a movie about animals. When offered these choices, if they push it away or act disinterested, we can model no, stop, or don't. This is how we make sure our user learns that when they activate buttons, they are telling us something. If we simply ignore the messages they are speaking, they may never learn the power of their words. AAC hasn't been discussed completely in depth in this video series because the point is to give you strategies to help your student or child, not make you an expert. But an important idea is that AAC is not just about high-tech devices or symbol boards. AAC encompasses all forms of meaningful language that we can use to supplement or replace verbal speech. That being said, the third A of this 3A strategy is to accept all meaningful communication attempts. If your child knows sign language, writes or types, uses common gestures like waving, thumbs up, head nods, and there is a distinct message behind what they're communicating, please do not force them to say it on their device. So often, we want to help our user learn to use their device, so we prompt them to speak their message after we know what they want to say. However, we want to honor that our user is a multimodal communicator by letting them know we understand any of their meaningful forms of communication. Now, for a shout out to all the parents or primary caregivers, you guys rock. You know your student or child better than anyone else. And those of us professionals highly value that. Often, parents know their children so well that the child mumbles just a little or looks their eyes in a certain direction, and the parents immediately know what they want. Their favorite movie that's not even within sight. This is absolutely okay. If it's meaningful to you at home, let it be. AAC is not intended to make your life more difficult. We want it to make your life easier. And remember from last week, we should inspire, not require. In these moments where the child uses these specific, not widely accepted gestures, I encourage you to acknowledge their request and model on their AAC system. This may look like you pressing cookie on their device after they rub their belly and you know that means they want a cookie. Lastly, some parents often think, why does my child need AAC if I can understand everything they want with their verbal approximations or gestures? To this point, I encourage you to consider how gestures are used only to communicate about the here and now. They can be quite meaningful, but when relying on gestures and verbal approximations only, our users are unable to talk about things that are not in their immediate environment. AAC allows them to learn to generate language about their day at school, what they're going to do over the weekend, and so much more. Your challenge for this week is to answer these questions. What is one moment of babbling or seemingly meaningless words your child used this week? And how did you respond? Given what you now know, when this occurs again, will you respond differently? Thank you for listening to these key strategies, and as always, please reach out with any questions you may have.